When the pack calls, Lupa answers, and the Queen of Fusion has just stormed the Gladiator Arena, and alongside her, two characters get boosted to God tier status, but we'll get to them later. Let's talk about Lupa, the Broadblade Fusion pack leader, and she's one of the most fun and powerful characters that we've seen in a long time. The wolf is my favorite animal, and I swear I won't be going too far into the furry side of things. I'm VoidEnigma. Woo! Ah, damn it, I did it already. Anyway, I'll be going over her kit, echoes, weapons, and her best team options, as well as talking about her place in the Quickswap team, as well as hypercarry, because she easily does both. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, like the video, and let's light up the void with the intense flames of Lupa. Lupa is a character whose main role is to buff your teammates, being fusion damage dealers. She specializes in liberation damage, and most of her damage is considered as such. Her main way of buffing is not through her outro skill, although that is part of it, but it's her resonance liberation, Fire Kissed Glory. This will give your entire team the pack hunt buff. It works similarly to Shorekeeper, except you don't have to stay in her giant field to actually get the buffs, it's just active. When she uses this ability, she's going to grant quite a few buffs to the party. Firstly, 6 to 18% attack, 10 to 20% fusion damage, 3 to 15% fusion resistance ignore. If your active resonator is hit, they will take damage and instantly dodge. And lastly, when you cast 2 outro skills and you use your third outro skill into Lupa, she gets an enhanced intro skill that does a ton of damage. The extent of those buffs depends on how many fusion characters are in the party, so the more fusion characters, the better. Additionally, the fusion damage buff only applies when you're attacking boss enemies, so keep that in mind for modes like Wuthering Waves, you'll do a little less damage. The enhanced intro skill is similar to Shorekeeper's. It works in the exact same way, meaning you generally want to start your rotation with Lupa. Also, her auto dodge is similar to Shorekeeper again, but it's actually much different. Rather than being hit back and then triggering a dodge, you will quite literally take the damage and trigger an auto dodge as if you actually did dodge. You get 3 of these, and it's great, especially when you're hitting air, because you won't be hit out of the air, you'll instead do an air dodge, and you'll be able to automatically keep attacking. For characters like Brant and Changli, this is amazing. Now, as always, there's a ton of words in her kit, but it's really not as complicated as it looks. She has a Forte gauge similar to Changli, except when you actually fill it, you gain an enhanced resonance skill, rather than an enhanced heavy attack. It does work quite differently though. When you have this gauge filled, you actually get half a bar each time, and you can do a heavy attack to actually ignite it and trigger Wolf Faith. You can get up to 2 Wolf Faiths, and when you have 2 Wolf Faiths, you'll be able to use the resonance skill, and it'll be a similar explosion to Changli. So in other words, you're going to attack and fill up the gauge, do 2 heavy attacks, and then you'll blow it up with your resonance skill. There is a way to kind of do this quicker, but we'll talk about that later. As for her regular resonance skill, it comes in 2 parts. She will throw the spear, mark the enemy, and then she will rush to it and deal additional damage to marked enemies. I won't really go into every part of her kit because there is a ton of special mechanics and things that work with her, and most of the mechanics are definitely not required, but they're fun to do in the overworld or if you just want to have extra style points. Once you get her, you can play around with that, or I'll make a follow-up video when she's released, so let me know if you want to know about those special mechanics that you can do. Nonetheless, let's talk about her rotations, as it will ease a lot of the confusion behind her kit. Lupa will start combat with a Resonance Liberation. From here, you have 35 seconds to get your entire rotation down, and if you do so correctly, you'll be rewarded with that enhanced intro skill that Lupa has. Because of this, in a Quickswap team, you want to prep your characters beforehand, and in a hypercarry team, you don't really need to bother, but it's still best practice to prep your characters. We'll talk about that in the team section later. After that Resonance Liberation from Lupa, a few things happen. Firstly, her Forte gauge will be filled and she'll get a unique resonance skill, where she'll throw her spear and it'll do a nice chunk of damage. From here, she goes into a state where her Forte gauge gets filled exponentially faster. So she'll do her normal attacks in midair, and in that process, she'll actually gain 1 Wolf Faith. So after her gauge is filled, and you get that 1 Wolf Faith, you'll follow up with a heavy attack, gaining the 2nd Wolf Faith, And finally, you'll use the resonance skill to blow it up, and you'll outro out of her. After that enhanced resonance skill, you're going to use your incoming character's liberation, and when you actually do so, Lupa will join you again on the field and do a follow-up attack. Essentially, for about 8 seconds after casting this enhanced resonance skill, the incoming character's liberation will trigger this follow-up attack each time. So you could use this on both Brant and Changli, but most of the time, you'll only be able to use it on Brant. So once you actually outro out of Lupa, you will cycle through your characters. Your second character will do their damage, trigger their outro, then go to your third character, who will do their damage and trigger their outro, then you'll come back to Lupa. She will trigger her enhanced intro, clear all of the buffs, but then she'll immediately cast her liberation again and repeat the exact same process. It's quite simple, and there is so much more that you can do in her kit, I'm not even joking, but it's not at all required for her rotation. Her main goal is to let other Fusion characters shine, and those buffs that we talked about, they help her do it seamlessly. Now that we've got the kit out of the way, let's talk about her echoes and what substats to prioritize. Just like the ears and tail I smuggled in from Siberia, Lupa needs Flaming Clawprint. This echo set is tailor-made for her and no one else. It increases the team's fusion damage by 15%, meaning that the team gets a total of 35% fusion damage when we factor in her pack buffs. Insane. It also buffs her fusion damage by a fair bit. You'll want crit rate or crit damage for the main piece, and the main piece will be the new Overlord Echo, Lioness of Glory. Funnily enough, the wolf equips the Lioness, eh? Anyway, for the elite pieces, of course, you'll want to go with fusion damage, but attack percent works just fine. And for the common pieces, you'll want to go with attack percent. As for the substats, you want to go with liberation damage mainly, as that's really where all of her damage is coming from, but you need to get at least 120 to 130% energy recharge on her, because if you can't do her liberation off cooldown, her rotation will feel incredibly awful. So prioritize those pieces with energy regen, because it's much better to have a smooth rotation than a little extra damage. Her echo options are quite simple and straightforward. Just build her like a DPS. Alright, weapon options are going to be a hot topic. Get it? So, Wildfire Mark is her signature weapon, and it grants a nice crit damage bonus of 48%. It's her best in slot option, and it increases her liberation damage by quite a bit. That's not the best part though. When you cast a liberation and follow up with a heavy attack, not only does Lupa get a nice 24% liberation damage boost, she buffs the entire team's fusion damage by 24%. So that's a total of 59% fusion damage bonus, like seriously. This weapon is great for not only Lupa, but her fusion partners as well. Definitely recommending for all of you to get. Her next option is actually the standard 5-star, Lustrous Razor. Finally, a character who can use this weapon. Am I forgetting anyone? Nah, definitely not. Anyway, this weapon will increase her liberation damage up to 3 stacks. Basically, on every cast of a resonance skill, that's 7% liberation damage apiece. Lupa easily gets 2 stacks, but will struggle to get the third. I think that the other 5-star weapons actually do a bit better overall. We're putting both Jinchi's weapon, Age of Harvest, and Jion's weapon, Verdant Summit, on the same tier because they are essentially the same exact weapon in regard to Lupa, except one gives crit rate and the other gives crit damage. They both give 12% attribute damage, so Lupa will be getting that fusion damage bonus from this, and that crit substat is of high value for Lupa, so this might be a little bit better than Lustrous Razor. Jinchi's weapon is also slightly better because she does deal a tad bit of resonance skill damage, but Jion's weapon buffing heavy attack is really useless on Lupa because Lupa doesn't do any heavy attack damage. Next, we have the Battle Pass weapon, Autumntra, and it finally has a user. It gives a respectable crit rate buff, and it buffs the attack based on basic attack and heavy attacks that you use. Lupa does cast heavy attacks, so she can easily keep up this passive. It's just that her heavy attacks are considered resonance liberation damage. You want to weave in a few basic attacks to get the full passive up as well, and it's a respectable option. Lastly, we have Waning Redshift, and it's a last resort option. It gives a decent attack buff, but trust me, upgrade this as soon as possible if it's the only thing that you've got. I highly recommend that you get her signature because it's not only good for her, but her teammates. Speaking of teammates, let's talk about the Wolfpack. Wolfpack consists of my favorite characters, Changli, the Queen Fiery Phoenix, and Brant, the sly elusive pirate. These are the premium members of the Fusion team, and funny thing about this team, Lupa's outro buffs basic attack damage and fusion damage. Brant uses basic attack damage, and his outro buffs resonance skill damage and fusion damage. Changli uses resonance skill damage, and her outro buffs liberation damage and fusion damage. Lupa uses liberation damage, and her outro buffs basic attack damage and fusion. Wait a minute. This team is literally made for each other. Every enemy that faces this team is designed to end. They are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death.
Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
And Lupa is that god. Man, I wish Nier had a collab with Wuwa already. So Lupa almost doubles the fusion damage. Like, it's incredible. 50% fusion res ignore, 59% fusion damage bonus, 18% attack, and the synergy with Quickswap and outros is crazy. The auto dodge helps the team complete the rotation because Brant won't get knocked out of the air, and Changli can freely continue her rotation without worrying about being hit. The fusion dream is here, and I am all for it. If you're missing Brant or Changli, don't panic. Lupa still shines without them, but you'll need to make some adjustments. Brant replacement first. It's tough to get a full fusion team without Brant because he is the only fusion healer and shielder, so without Brant you'll have to go with another type of character. The best option is of course Shorekeeper. You will lose a fair chunk of fusion damage, 9% fusion res ignore, 10% fusion damage, and some attack, but the team is still very solid. Farina is also an option if you lack Shorekeeper. Without Changli, you have a few options in fact. You got Chisia, who works just fine with the two, and since Brant can also buff resonance skill damage, then she will actually be great in this team as well. This team is much less quick-swappy and more hyper-focused carry, but it definitely works. You also have Encore, and it works the exact same way with her, except she doesn't get that much bonus from Brant. The team has potential in the future as any fusion character may actually join in, but I don't think that the core fusion team will ever be dethroned because their intro and outro skills just combine so perfectly. Alright, big question. Quickswap or standard rotation? And the answer is both. If you do play Quickswap, you have a more seamless experience and will do overall more damage, but hypercarry teams are not too far behind. Well, not even hypercarry, it's just standard rotations. Basically, with Quickswap, you'll be able to prep all your characters before you go into the damage stage, and then actually do all of your damage. With the standard rotation, you just swap from one character to the next and to the next, fulfilling their conditions one at a time, and that's why it's a little bit slower, because you're not able to do everyone's damage at once, and instead you're using one character. While it's slower, it will still clear. It's just very tight on the rotation timing, so be careful. Alright. I've given you all the ancestral woven knowledge of the Lost Pack, so take this wisdom and destroy thine enemies. In other words, have fun messing people up. The Mono Fusion team is going to be a fun and amazing team. Complete, and the survivability is actually insane. Because of the Quickswap heavy gameplay, shielding, and auto dodges, bosses actually have trouble hitting you if played correctly. This is a boss killing team, but it can still do exceptional in area of effect situations. I can't wait for Lupa to come, and I've already started growing my whiskers. I borrowed some from my wolf here, so soon my transformation into VoidEnigma will be complete. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, leave a like to support my my wolf transitioning, and this has been VoidEnigma out.